World War II time?
Yes,
Tommy, were you in?
I was not in the walking. I was in the flying army. That's what we'd laugh about that, you know. Because I don't want that walking army. So I was born in 1921, and of course I've always interested in airplanes. I built little model airplanes, and I had my room plastered with airplanes. And of course, when I went to Baltimore to take the test for the aviation cadets, I did not have 2 years of college. And at that time, the Air Force required you to have 2 years of college. But when the war came along, they just didn't have enough college people with 2 years of college, so they lowered the standards. And they said if you could take what they called an equivalency test, that you could be entered as an aviation cadet, but it would actually you'd have a test that would be equivalent to 2 years of college. I'm talking by hands, I'm telling you. But anyhow, what really helped me get in was the fact that this test was slanted in the direction of people who was interested in airplanes. Now, some fellows, they just wanted to get into service, but they didn't care anything about airplanes, but they thought they might like to be an officer. Well, they were eliminated right there. And the fellows who wanted to get into service, but never was interested in airplanes, they were eliminated too. When I went down to Baltimore that day, it seemed to me like there was either 28 or 32 fellows took that test the day I took it, but only 2 of us passed. But there were so many questions about airplanes, but they were easy for me because I was interested so much. I could look up on the wall and tell you just exactly what that the Air Force designation on that plane was. And see, a lot of these guys, they just didn't know it. So then this was on September the 26th, 1942. Jay's birthday, my wife's birthday, is September 28th, and I get the 24th. And I get mixed up sometimes as to which day is which day. But anyhow, I was sworn in. Then, about a month later, they told me to go back home. And they would call me as soon as there was an opening, and they had a lot of guys coming in. They were processing them real fast and everything. But anyhow, to go back, and they would call me. So about a month later, I got a notice in the mail, this report to Hagerstown, Maryland, I was being drafted. Well, of course, the only thing I have is a little piece of cardboard, which I have over here in my scrapbook right now. And I said, well, they can't draft me. I've already been sworn in the Air Force. I was in reserve, see. So anyhow, I walked over to a whole bunch of guys in there. Well, I didn't want to stand in line half the morning, you know how that is. So I just walked up there to the sergeant at the table, and I said, could I just ask you a question? And I had this thing to him. I said, I'm already in the Air Force. I said, you can't draft me. So, of course, he said, yes, you go on home. So that's the end of that. But anyhow, in February then, I was called active duty, and they sent me to Miami Beach. Well, I had never ridden on a train before in my life, so that was all new experience to me. And we were 2 days to get to Miami Beach. Every train that came along, they put us on sidetrack. For hogs and cows and everything else, they went through first, and they let us on the sidetrack. And we got down there, and I was amazed. It was February, Maryland, ice and snow and sleet and everything. 2 days later, we got out of Miami Beach, a great big moon up there, palm trees growing out there, warm and nice. I said, oh my, isn't that nice? So we stayed down there then until about, I guess April, something like that. And we were given all types of tests, motivation tests, to find out what we knew and what we were capable of and things like that. But they didn't wash anybody out. Everybody was in there, stayed in there. And they shipped us up to Carson College, West Virginia, at Athens. That's at Athens, West Virginia. And they divided us up into 5 different groups. The first group went in there and stayed 1 month. The second group stayed 2 months, and so on down until the 5th month. Well, I left out there in the 3rd group. So this kind of told me that the little school I went to in Hancock, Maryland, which is a town smaller than Oneida, didn't have such a bad educational system because I was running about average. See, I went out in the 3rd group. So then they shipped us to Maxwell, out here to Nashville, Tennessee. and that was a classification center. And of course, boy, was it hot down there. And Dave Hess from my hometown, he crashed so bad that he was given an honorable discharge from the Air Force because they couldn't get it under control. And he had a little psoriasis with him too. But anyhow, Dave was sent home. But anyhow, when we left out down there, out of Nashville, they classified us as no, they didn't either classify us, but they shipped us to Maxwell Field, Alabama. And Maxwell Field, Alabama was kind of a pre-cadet, no flight or anything. But we flew 10 hours up West Virginia up there just to see if you really enjoyed flying and how you would do with it. And that would help then determine in Nashville whether you're going to be a pilot, bombardier, or a navigator. But still, we weren't firmly classified until we went down to Maxwell Field, Alabama, as we left Nashville. We got down to Maxwell Field, we were there about a month or two. Then when we left out of there, the bombardiers went to bombardier school, and the navigators went to navigator school, and then they sent us to various and sundry flying fields. The pilots, of course, went into pilot training. And I was sent down to Lakeland, Florida, to the Lobby School of Aviation in Lakeland. It was just real nice down there. Well, we were there about 2.5 months, I guess. Then, my instructor was an old barnstormer named Wood. And he had flown back in the days when Lindbergh was flying, these old World War I airplanes and barnstorming, and he was a wonderful pilot and a wonderful instructor, but he was real rough. Anyhow, 5 of us started, and 2 of the boys washed out. So 3 of us left there. They went on to basic training at Bainbridge, Georgia. So we got down to Bainbridge, Georgia, and we were assigned to one instructor down there, and his name was Coachman. And he was an Air Force officer. He was a 2nd lieutenant. And from then on out, these instructors in primary were civilians. They were just paying those fellows by the hour, by the month, whatever. But once we went to Bainbridge, Georgia, that was a military base. And everybody there was in the military. And our instructors were officers. And when we left, we were flying BT-13. It's made over here in Nashville. We called it Baltic vibrators. The planes we flew in Lakeland were treated biplanes, and they were called Stearmans. And I believe you fly a Stearman, you fly anything. And then we got out of there, we flew these basic trainers. And again, I believe we lost 3 fellows right there, but I blame that on the instructor, because this instructor was not a good instructor at all. He would just want to horse around. And if he'd been on the ball, all 5 of us could have gotten through there. Well, anyhow, then we was there about 10 weeks or 2.5 months, something like that. We went over to Valdosta, Georgia, and of course I had asked for a single engine pilot. I'd like to be a fighter pilot. I didn't want a single engine. So when the first list went up, I was going to go down to England Field, Florida. But not the next night, just left to put on the bulletin board. The next night I goes up there and we looked at the list of names again, and I'd been transferred to twin engine. Somebody else had more political clout than I did. And he was over there in twin engine, and he got his name shuffled over, and they just took my name off. But at that time, I was gung-ho for anything. I didn't care to be, all I wanted was to fly. I didn't even know you were an officer. So I went over to Valdosta then for the flew twin engine AT-10s, which is a little twin engine airplane, trainer. And we didn't exactly have instructors over there assigned to 5 students. Over there you just flew with everybody. And that's the way it was for 10 weeks. And of course then we graduated in February. And we graduated as a 2nd lieutenant and a pilot, see. And then I came home for a week. So let's have a week off. We went back, then I was assigned to fly this airplane you see back here, B-17 down here, at Seabrook, Florida. And we were there again, it was about 10 weeks. But while we were there, my mother died. So I was, of course, this thing works, you know, everything works just like clockwork. In 6 weeks, you're out, go someplace else, all over the Air Force Center. Well, when I had to go home for the funeral, I missed shipping out with the fellows who I had been in training with. And I'd gotten to know several of them. So when I came back after going home for the funeral and everything, they put me in a pool. That's what they call a pool. And you had all kinds of guys in there. Some of them had flown submarine patrol off the coast of Florida. Some of them had been instructors someplace. And they just put them all in this pool together. Then when somebody needed some pilots and whatnot, they just ship them out. So, I don't know, we sat there 2 or 3 weeks doing nothing. Playing cards out there on the lake, you know, the sunshine one day. And all at once they got a call from the training command out here in kind of the Central Training Command that they wanted, I think it was about 25 or 30 of us, pilots. So they put us all on one of those coaches. And there was about 30 or 40 of us. Yeah. One lady, one guy's wife was down there. Here she is on this railroad coach. Those one-day sleeper now. We had to sleep, make those old, you can make those beds, what do you call them, the seats face each other, or you can make them all face one way, or you can lay them all the way down, something like that. But anyhow, we start off. We head out there to Kansas City first. We're headed up there at Rapid City, South Dakota, is where we're going to. We got out about Kansas City, I believe it was. Everybody got off the train, and they had about a 24-hour delay or 18-hour delay, and golly, did. We were out there 3 days. And we got back. They just straggled from then on. So we had about a week. We needed to be out there in a week, but we didn't need that long. So after we was Kansas City, so they had time to kill. We got back on the train, and some of those guys had been, they didn't have any suitcases, nothing but just one change of clothes they had on their back. All their baggage had gone on, see. And I met this guy named Holloway. He hadn't shaved for 3 or 4 days, and he'd been out drinking. His eyes were bloodshot. If that wasn't a raunchy looking outfit. Well, we got out of Rapid City, no clothes. The baggage had got. We left our baggage down at the railroad station instead of taking them with us, and everybody just took off, just left everything the way it was. Well, whoever picked it off the railroad, at the railroad station, they missent it. So, boy, we were up there, and our orders were lost, and everything. What in the world are we going to do now? Well, listen, the one thing you can do is just wait around here and see if they might turn up someplace. They just shipped it somewhere to the wrong place. So we were there about 4 or 5 days, something like that. Here comes every day the mail truck running. We'd go look and see if anything came in. Of course, when they came in, we recognized it. Tell them about these odd-looking bags and whatnot. So then we got our orders out of there. Then it's up to Rapid City, South Dakota. And we were only up there about 3 or 4 days. They took us all down to the theater. And each row had 10 and 9 more men in it. And when I walked down through there, I was on row 26, I believe it was. Anyhow, so I sat down in the end seat on row 26, and these other 9 fellows out there, that was going to make up the crew of this B-17. The fellow next to me, of course, was the co-pilot. Next fellow over was the bombardier. Next fellow over was the navigator. Then you had a radio operator, you had an engineer, a couple waist gunners, a tail gunner, a ball turret gunner. They were all down this aisle.